Hare Krishna. Welcome to the lockdown program with Krishna under the umbrella of Govardhan Hill. Today we are reading and discussing the most beautiful Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. If someone can do a Kirtan, that would be great. Samir, whichever, or a little. Oh, Vaishana Mataji, welcome.
Haribo, Haribo.
Can we have a little bit of Kirtan, Jaya Radha Madhava, from you? Because I need to find my headphone cable. That seems to have gone missing. So the microphone is all yours, Vaishana Mataji.
Goodness, okay, I will try. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hey, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Vaishana Mataji. That was beautiful. Jaya Radha Madhava. Welcome to the lockdown today on the 6th of February. Welcome Amit, Ben, Dan, Nalini Mataji, Samir, Vaishana Kishori Mataji. Hare Krishna. We have apologies from Pandava Prabhu and Bhagavati Mataji. They're not too well. They had a very extremely busy day. And Rashmi Mataji, she will come a bit later. She's just finishing her rounds. Hare Krishna. So let's start off. I have a little bit of some nectar before we start the Bhagavatam. Some nectar to... is a very nice quote from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam I would like to share with you on the topic of the impersonal Brahman or devotional service, which is, of course, on the completely other end of realization. Okay, here Srila Prabhupada writes, one must not only think that he is Brahman, but one must act like Brahman. One who only thinks himself Brahman is an impersonalist, and one who acts like Brahman is a pure devotee. I thought that was a very nice quote. We shall remember that to distinguish. One who only thinks himself as Brahman is an impersonalist, and one who is acting as Brahman is a devotee. Example, Srila Prabhupada gives an example, and that's a very, very, sometimes a question has been raised, how can we always think of Krishna when we have so many jobs to do in this world? So here Srila Prabhupada gives a little bit of a story which highlights how we should think of Krishna 24 hours during our work and so on. A housewife who has a paramour, a lover, continues to serve her husband while even absorbed in thoughts of her lover. In the same way, the devotee submerged in Krishna consciousness routinely carries out his material activities, but in a spirit of devotion to Krishna. So that is a secret of carrying out our duties, but in a spirit of devotion to Krishna. So that housewife, while she is serving her husband very nicely, actually she thinks of her lover. So in the same way, we do our duties, material duties, but at the same time, we are thinking and we are in the spirit of Krishna consciousness. Okay, there is another quote which is also most amazing. It comes from Srila Bhaktivinoda Pramod Puri Maharaj, a very, very old and very advanced Vaishnava, on the topic of when are we going to die? Throughout our lives, we are busily shaping another body, so that when our work here has been completed and we have to leave it, we go to the other body that we have been preparing with our actions in this one. In other words, once all the results of our activities in previous lives that were destined for this body have been suffered or enjoyed, then it is time to leave it. We give up this body in great distress, but when it falls away here in this world, we leave it with our subtle body and enter another body. So that's not finished. There's another short paragraph, but the striking thing here in this little quote is when our actions, which we are, our enjoyment and our suffering, which obviously comes from previous lifetimes, from previous karma, when these enjoyments and these sufferings have been exhausted, which are meant in this body, because at the time of birth, we have a certain amount of, we have our karma, good and bad. We have a certain amount of enjoyment and a certain amount of suffering. And nobody can change that. So when this certain amount of suffering and enjoyment has been fulfilled in this body, then we leave the body. Then we have done our karma. That's very interesting. Of course, we don't know when we have finished our karma in this body, when we have finished to suffer what we are supposed to suffer and to enjoy what we meant to enjoy. So here, Maharaj carries on. Wherever we go, we enjoy or suffer the consequences of our previous actions, and with a new set of external senses that we possess. Joy and suffering, happiness or distress. These are the workings of this world, Jagat Vyapara, over which no one, not even the greatest scientist, has any control. This is a law that no one can challenge. Okay, I thought that was quite a significant statement. Okay, so let's go to our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam for tonight. And it is in the chat right now. It is text 15. Samir, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, you like the last statement. You're saying that you have to suffer. Yeah. So you're saying that you have to suffer or enjoy depending on what you've done. What about people who are aspiring to be devotees and devotees? What about them?
Good question. Good question. Those who are aspiring to devotees, we have still some karma. We're not free of karma. The example is given of the fan, which, particularly when it's hot in India, you have these ceiling fans. You know that very well, Samir. I remember we were together in the same room, and it was so hot. And I said, Samir, get up, Mangalati. Oh. It was very hot, and it was hot. And the fan was going all night long. And when we switch off that fan is still turning. By the power it has been, by the force it has been turning. Electricity is switched off. The wall switches off and the fan still turns, but then it gets slower and slower until it stands still. That is our situation. Even as devotees, we may not produce any more karma if we are fully surrendered to Krishna. That's a point. If we are fully surrendered to Krishna. If we are mixed devotees, karma mishra bhaktis, we spoke about bhaktas, and jnana mishra bhaktas. If we are mixed with karma and jnana, fruitive desires and mental speculation, then we're still creating some karma, only if we come to the pure devotional platform, which this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam wants to affect the change in heart. The Bhagavatam wants to affect such change in heart. Then on that Brahma Buddha platform, and we engage in devotional service as pure devotees, then no more karma. So as devotees, we half step, or you said as aspiring devotees, we are halfway there. So we should expect still some reactions to be there, but no power much anymore. It's just spinning. We have unplugged. We have switched off the switch, but there is still, the fan is still spinning around. There is a beautiful statement in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one who is patiently suffering the works of his karma, but at the same time is worshipping Krishna within his heart and in his mind and with all his senses, such a person is eligible for liberation. It's only a question of time. Like someone standing in the shower, it's only a question of time until that person is clean. Does that answer your question, Zamir?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you very much. And apologies, I wanted to say Hare Krishna to everyone, then with pranams to everyone.
Oh, that is nice. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Vashana Mataji, your mic is on. You want to surely say something.
Yes, I one thing comes to mind when Sami Prabhu was asking about the aspiring devotees. When I was aspiring to be a devotee, the one thing that intrigued me was when we go to the book that is for Guru and Disciple, a very interesting statement was there that when the time is right, the Guru will appear. I didn't have much faith then, but when it happened to me and my Guru Maharaj appeared and, there was an association, he came to me, he spoke with me and asked me if I wanted to become his devotee. It was just amazing. So I do believe that statement completely now, that yes, when the time is right, he will appear.
Very
and
nice.
Your progress will go on. Irrespective of how far you have got or what you think. I mean, at that time I was just cooking all the time, but it was amazing.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. It's a very wonderful statement, and it's a very wonderful book. It's a must read. Spiritual Master and Disciple. That book is available on our website, prasadam.org. That book is also available. I can make that available, not in hard copy, as a what is it, a PDF or something like that. So that can be made available. Dharm has got this book from me, and he has read everything, and I think he got so much more wiser by reading that book. Dharm is true. Send us a heart.
Well, I have a copy too. I can bring mine in as well when the temple starts. So if anybody wants to read it.
Well, if anybody wants to read it before the temple is started, who knows when that is, who knows when the lockdown finishes, then I can make that available. Or I can post a link, or you can search for it, Spiritual Master and Disciple, on prasadam.org, our website. It's there. Very important book. Anybody who is more serious about Krishna consciousness should read that book. It describes qualities of a spiritual master. Very important to know the qualities of a bona fide spiritual master and the qualities of a disciple as well, because a disciple must be also qualified and the guru must be qualified, and then the exchange of transcendental knowledge will take place. Otherwise, not. So, yes, very nice. Thank you so much, Vashana Mataji. Any other question to set? Or shall we go to our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Okay, let's go to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's in the chat. It's 1:5:15 today. So, anyone wants to read? Volunteers, and don't let us wait for 5 minutes. Someone comes up, and I would like that a little bit more self-regulated, rather than me pointing out, can you read? Someone may feel pushed maybe too much. So a voluntary reading, we all know if we have been reading, then we step a little bit back and give some others a chance, and others who haven't been reading, they should come forward and, oh, I can read. Okay, like that. Samir, go ahead. The microphone is yours.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jugvat Sitam Dharmakriti Sate Swabhav Daktasya Mahan Yati Krama Yad Vakto Dharma Itarya Stito Na Manyate Tasya Nivaram Jana. Translation and the purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable, because they are guided under your instructions. They will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Purport. Srila Vyasadeva, compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performances of fruitive activities, are deprived in the Mahabharata and other literatures, is condemned herewith by Srila Narad. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material nature. They have no sense of responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home, going back home to resolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering 8,400,000 is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned souls. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life, and such the only occupation of the human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with God. Under the circumstances, one should never be encouraged to making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. Such diversion of human energy is misguided. Such diversion of human energy results in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanations in the Mahabharata, etc., and his encouragement in the sense enjoyment in some form or another is a great barrier for spiritual advancement, because people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, as sacrificing animals in the name of yajna, were too rampant, the Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decreed the authority of the Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religion. This was foreseen by Narad, and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh eaters will continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures, such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating, but gradually the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because foolish materialistic men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain the Vedic rites. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by a voluminous work or accumulation of wealth or even by increasing the population, but it is to be so attained only by renunciation. The materialist mect do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporeal defects, or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in family life. The histories of the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is there in the Mahabharata. The whole idea of the Mahabharata accumulates in the ultimate instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, that one should requench all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering onto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic works, activities mentioned in the Mahabharata, than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. This comprising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada, who advises him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relationship with the Lord, and thus surrender unto him without delay. The patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not at all take. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that a man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry and philosophers without spiritual realization. But those who are in devotional line need not always so advised.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Quite a lengthy, but can you say a few words, Samir? What are the main points?
The main point is that we need to use this human form of life, so this human body, especially now that we have come into touch with Krishna consciousness and Krishna conscious devotees, we have to use this very precious form to go back home, to serve the Lord, to use it in devotional service, to eventually love the Lord and chant his holy names and serve him instead of serving our senses, and also get away from the dual aspect of maybe having one foot in the materialistic side and one foot in the spiritual side. That doesn't work. We have to be totally on the spiritual side. But if we can do that over time, we start doing what is recommended, then eventually we will be fully on the spiritual platform. So
Hey.
I think that's enough for that one.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Question for you, Samir. You just mentioned if we do what is recommended. So what is recommended?
Well, what is recommended, of course, is you said before that is maybe the 5 principles, as we keep saying, that the 4 regulative principles is, of course, no eating meat, no intoxications, including onion and garlic and caffeine.
No, actually, onion and garlic are not included in the intoxication, but we cannot offer it to Krishna. But they're not actually included in the intoxication. But what is included in intoxication?
Alcohol.
Yes, what else?
Drugs.
Yeah.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Then we've still got any questions on that side, or should I carry on?
Well, what else? There are 2 more, which are very inconvenient for many people.
Oh, tea, caffeine.
Tea and coffee, because of the caffeine.
Yeah.
These are the intoxication. What else? No meat, no fish, no eggs, no intoxication. What else?
No gambling.
Including what?
No gambling, including no gambling, including what? Doing the lottery or whatever.
That is pure gambling, yes. But what? That is also easily overlooked. No mental speculation. That is also included in gambling. That means we just speculate. We don't really know, but we think this is like that and think we have to learn from authority what is what. If we just speculate, mental speculation, that's gambling. What else?
And the final one is no illicit sex.
What does that mean?
So no sex outside marriage, and also if you are married, you should only have sex to propagate children.
That would be the highest standard. I think Krishna says, I am that sex life which is according to the regulative principles. That will be the highest standard. But nowadays, if someone can just restrict his sexual activity to marriage, that is already a very, very big step ahead. To have sex life only for propagating children, that is a very high, but that's an absolute standard. That is absolutely birth control. Amit, you want to say something?
Yeah, Prabhu, could you just expand on, you said no mental speculation.
Yes, as I said, the mind is always coming up with so many constructs, right? I think, in my opinion, actually the devotee never says, I think in my opinion. We never say that. You will not hear, ever, Srila Prabhupada saying, I think it is like that, in my opinion. No. Scientists just say, in my opinion. No, we don't say that. Either we know or we don't know. So what we say, Srila Prabhupada said, this is written in the Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says like that, and then we quote, and we're learning to find references from Bhagavad Gita, and that is exactly for the same purpose. So, we don't speculate. And if we don't know, then we say, I don't know. I'll have to find out. I have to ask someone. I have to consult the books. So, we don't speculate. Anything which is not coming through the disciplic succession, through the Guru Parampara, through the Acharyas, through Srila Prabhupada, through the scriptures, that is mental speculation, because it's just a construct of the mind. In the material world, everybody is just speculating all the time. There are some authorities as well in the material sphere, but the mind likes actually to speculate. The mind likes to generate so many different ideas. But what is the value of all these ideas? If they don't line up with Krishna's idea, with what Krishna says, what the Bhagavatam says, what Guru says. So, That is mental speculation. Does it make sense, Amit? Does that answer your question? Yes? Okay. Anything else? That was...
Yes,
yes,
yes, it does. Yes, sorry, I couldn't switch my microphone on then.
Okay. So that is gambling and illicit sex. So what else, Samir? Back to you. You said things we should do. Or these 4 principles were things we should not do. So what should we do?
So we should chanting.
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, chanting 16 rounds, as Srila Prabhupada has told us, minimum of 16, minimum. So I was saying that if we follow those 4 principles and then the 5th one of chanting the 16 rounds minimum, then eventually we will start moving fully and completely onto the spiritual platform. Because, of course, when we first start, we are mixed and we're probably more material when we first start. But then if we stick to it with faith and full surrender, then we can start moving fully onto the spiritual platform.
Well, actually, if we do avoid these 4 do-nots, the 4 don'ts, and we do the 1 do of chanting 16 rounds, you can be guaranteed that you will get the mercy of the spiritual master. Beyond, even now we're getting some mercy, but there we'll get the full mercy of Guru. If we come to that platform, as Samir just explained, we'll get the full mercy of Guru. And without the mercy of Guru, what can we accomplish? But Samir, you said 16 rounds. Can you be a bit more specific? Is there more to it?
Is there more to the rounds, or is there more to devotional service? Or what?
Is there more to the 16 rounds?
I think...
Or any rounds, for that matter?
What I was thinking was that when we start doing the 16 rounds and we start obviously cleansing more and more ourselves, because our constitutional position or our actual position is to serve the Lord. So we start awakening that. Once we start to awaken that, it's a natural thing for us. So hopefully, with the mercy of Guru, then we can continuously keep thinking of Krishna, even when we're not sitting down and chanting or holding the beads. Whatever we're doing, we've always got Krishna on our tongue. So, if we get to that stage, that would be very beautiful. But of course, there's a lot of things that we can do as well. Like, Prabhupada says that, if you are, whatever you're good at, engage that in Krishna's service. So some people are good at cooking. Some people are good at, cleaning. You can clean the temple. You can cook. There's so many different ways. Some people are very good at preaching. You can go and preach. Some people are very nice at maybe distributing books. So in this way, if we can engage our time in serving Krishna, of course, also, if you're at work, then you can try and remember the Lord at work, and use use the Lakshmi in Krishna's service, as well as, of course, maintaining the body and the things that you need to do, but not to use it in sense gratification. Use it in self-realization.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Thank you, Samir. Is chanting included in devotional service, serving the Lord, you said? Is chanting included?
Yes.
Absolutely. There is this nice story, you heard that before. I want to just share it again, if anybody hasn't heard it. Said in Mayapur in India, there was a big festival coming up and devotees were doing all kinds of services. You mentioned cleaning, so much cleaning and getting ingredients and cooking. A festival with many, many people attending. And the temple president there at the time, he became frustrated because one devotee, he was just sitting there under the palm trees and just chanting. And he asked him, can you do this? We need this service and this. And he said, no, I'm chanting. And he became so frustrated that everybody was actively involved and he was just sitting there and chanting. So he went to Srila Prabhupada to complain. And Srila Prabhupada said, do you think chanting is not service? It is the highest service. Well, that puts that into perspective. So he didn't say he should do something. No, he appreciated that. It's the highest service. Not many people can sit there all day long and chant. We all want engagement with our body, with our arms, with our legs, because we cannot sit down for even 2 hours. Or to speak of 5 and 6 hours as he did. So I ask you, Samir, is there anything more to the chanting than the 16 rounds? Or as you nicely explained, that eventually we will, just like in the example we heard before, of the lady, that woman with the paramour, not woman, wife, housewife. She was constantly thinking of her lover while serving her husband. So is there anything besides this, what is important with the chanting? That's a question for anybody, for everybody. Yes, we should come to the standard of 16 in this lifetime, but is there anything more?
Could you be a little bit more specific in your question, Prabhupada?
Offensive. Chanting without offenses?
That's the one. Chanting without offenses. How many offenses are there, Samir? Vaishana Mataji, your microphone is already on. How many offenses?
10 offenses against the holy name.
10 offenses. So these have to be avoided. And that may be sometimes difficult. We'll just keep on chanting and keep on trying to avoid the offenses. And our chanting will eventually become pure chanting. Pure chanting means when we don't commit any of the 10 offenses. That is pure chanting. That is called Shuddha Nam, the pure name. Then our Krishna consciousness will skyrocket. That's a pure devotional platform. Okay, thank you. That was a nice summary. Is there anything else to be said to this verse? There are many other things there. Anyone wants to mention something before we move on? I want to mention something that Srila Vyasadeva has put much emphasis on other things, or perhaps a question. The example is given that people took advantage of the Vedic scriptures, which in certain circumstances there are animal sacrifice in the Vedas, in the 4 Vedas, not in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And people took advantage, and then the Lord had to come as Lord Buddha to put things right. Is there anything else which Srila Vyasadeva has perhaps emphasized? Any other examples anybody can think of where people take advantage of religious principles for sense gratification? of religion for sense gratification, and not for renunciation, for sense gratification. Is there anything else anyone can think of?
The Bible says that thou shalt not kill, but again that has been misused over time by people, and they have misused it and extrapolated it and made it thou shalt not kill human beings.
Thou shalt not murder. They have translated actually. Yes, that's a good example, because murder means human beings. Anything else? Anything else we can think of what people performing religious activity, actually not for renunciation, but for sense gratification? Ben, anything you can think of?
Well, that's the purpose behind the Vedas is to perform religiosity, to then become economically developed, and then to enable people to enjoy their senses. And then at the end of the life, moksha, liberation. So religion that doesn't really touch on devotional service is in that mold.
No,
so
it doesn't.
People, they're only performing this religion in terms of their own selfish desires, really.
Yes, for sense gratification, yes. Srila Prabhupada gives an interesting example. People used to perform religious duties which gave them naturally economic benefit. And from economic benefit, there is sense gratification, of course. So, what is the proof? So, Srila Prabhupada says, nowadays, economic benefit can be achieved without performing religious activities. And the proof is that people will not perform religious activities to make economic development, but they will, by our modern means, do direct economic development and giving up religion. That means, in conclusion, they were never after spiritual benefit, after spiritual advancement. All what they were after was economic development and sense gratification. Otherwise, they would not give up religious activities once they get the same goal in another way, because they were never really interested in. So that is a problem with the Vedas, and that's a problem with religiosity and religions. Most religions are on that platform, that they offer some material reward. Krishna consciousness and pure devotional service is distinct. We are not encouraged with some material reward, but here at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is also that said that a man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation. There is a verse in that regard. For gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. That is a hope. That was an idea of the Vedas and Vyasadeva, that if people are encouraged to do their occupational duties in the Varnashram system, eventually they will come to the position of self-realization. And that may very well be true for some as a starting point. But Srila Prabhupada further writes, this is sometimes applicable to those who are only dry empirical philosophers without spiritual realization. But those who are in the devotional line should never be so advised. Rashmi.
Prabhuji, on this last point which you said, I wanted to share what finally I learned today after many, many years of questioning so many people about Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So when somebody is just doing some action for enjoying the results, he's in the mode of passion. But when somebody is doing actions without any attachment to the result, and he's offering the fruits to Krishna, to the Lord, so whatever wealth, like Samir Prabhu mentioned, that is Karma Yoga, but it is still in the mode of goodness. So we have to all do our duties. It is not, unless you're in the surrendered stage, you have reached that path, the point of bhakti, where you're fully surrendered, pure soul, then you have no obligation to family or society or community or anything. So then you don't have to follow the varnashram dharma. You don't have to do any of those activities. But otherwise, that is a discipline which Krishna has said that to get to the mode of goodness, we have to do our duty, and we have to do it dutifully, without any whimsical feeling. So one day if I feel like cooking, I will cook. One day if I don't feel like cooking, I will not cook. If I am a grihastha and I'm a woman, I have to feed my family. Or whatever your occupation is, whatever varna and ashram, you have to do that duty. That is the starting point. That is a starting point which is karma yoga. And you're doing the duty, but that duty is the one which Krishna has instructed in the Bhagavad Gita. So the duty is not whimsical, it is according to Krishna's instructions. And it is done dutifully without attachment to the result. But that is the basic foundation. Once we have achieved that we have disciplined ourselves to not be whimsical. Then we transcend that. So we start doing bhakti, and then we are not, because karma yoga has already trained us to not be whimsical, to do the duty like Krishna has instructed, disciplined way, without being attached to the result. Then we will start practicing bhakti yoga, and then we will reach. And as we advance, then finally we reach to that stage where varna and ashram is no longer applicable to us, because we have fully surrendered. But until that time, every one of us has to do our duty. So Arjun was doing karma yoga, but later on he surrendered, so it became bhakti. So that was very important, which I learned today. I have asked this question to so many people, and I've never been satisfied by the answer. But today, finally, I understood that about karma yoga. So it is not that...
You're saying that all the time. When Sundar Gopal gave his class and he gave you an explanation of karma yoga, you asked the same question and you said, I never understood that. Now I'm satisfied. Now I have...
No, I don't know what I said to Sundar, but this is what I have understood. But this is not the, I don't know what's so funny, Prabhuji. I will switch off then.
Huh? What? Don't switch off. My question, you said karma yoga, if we do our duties, that is karma yoga. Now let's say a person, a doctor in your hospital, who is not interested in Krishna consciousness, he's doing his duties, that is karma yoga?
Yes, that is karma yoga, but that is in the mode of passion.
That's not karma yoga.
That is karma yoga, because
that
he's
is
doing
karma.
his duty.
Karma.
It's not, karma yoga. It is karma in the mode of passion.
So there is a very big difference between karma and karma yoga. Karma yoga is when Krishna is also there. Karma is without Krishna, and karma yoga is with Krishna, and Krishna is there, and gradually we become purified, and out of karma yoga becomes bhakti yoga and becomes pure bhakti. Okay, Ben, your hand is up.
Karma yoga is action in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
There's a whole chapter in the Bhagavad Gita is devoted to this subject. Karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So karma yoga is in a sense is bhakti yoga too.
Yes, it is said in Bhagavad Gita.
It is not bhakti yoga.
No,
it is different. Listen. It is in the mode of goodness.
You are No.
It says
no.
in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam,
No.
apparently in the 11th canto. I'm just repeating what I have learnt in the class today anyway.
Because when we act in Krishna consciousness, that's devotion, and devotion is bhakti.
So what you saying again, Ben?
I said when we act in Krishna consciousness,
Yes.
we're acting in devotion, and devotion is bhakti. So therefore, we're engaged in bhakti.
But it can be karma mishra bhakti, right?
It can be. It's all dependent upon the practitioner.
It will be karma mishra bhakti at the beginning, wouldn't it? 50% for Krishna, 50% for me.
I mean,
60%.
if you look at in those terms, then yes, because not everybody's gonna. I mean, everybody has an introduction to Krishna, and I mean, each individual they take as long as they take to fully surrender. So in that process of getting to the highest achievement point, then of course they're not acting perfectly, but they're progressing on the path.
Yes, we could say karma yoga is bhakti, but it's not pure bhakti. It's mixed bhakti, or jnana mishra bhakti.
But what about, I mean, even when you talk about jnana, jnana yoga, you know, if your jnana is all based upon the Puranas and the Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
Not this kind of jnana. There is a jnana which is based on, and that what Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita is based on philosophical speculation.
And what kind of jnana would that be then?
Which one? Philosophical speculation?
Yes.
Impersonal jnana.
So, do you have any idea?
You're talking about Buddhi Yoga, no?
There are many terms flying around now. Buddhi Yoga is Bhakti Yoga. And there is even a statement in Bhagavad Gita where Srila Prabhupada says that if someone thinks Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are different, then that is not the case. So, in a sense, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, as you mentioned, Ben, they are the same. But that Bhakti Yoga is not pure Bhakti. That becomes pure Bhakti eventually.
But
when it becomes 50 for Krishna, 50 for me, becomes 90 for Krishna, 10 for me, 100 for Krishna, nothing for me. Then we have Shuddha Bhakti, pure.
But when I said it, I said the Karma Yoga action in Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
That's different.
Yes.
Without any connection with Krishna, any action is just karma.
Yes, it's just karma.
I mean, and there's different types of karma, of course.
Yep.
Vikarma, akarma, forbidden action.
Karma, yeah.
Action in goodness. So there's different types of karma as well. Ugra karma.
Yes.
But Prabhuji, all these years, in this forum at least, you have always taught us that Bhakti Yoga is topmost. It is above Karma Yoga.
Yes, of course.
And that's what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. Bhakti Yoga is above Karma Yoga.
Of course.
Because Karma Yoga is still in the mode of goodness and Bhakti Yoga has gone above that.
Pure Bhakti. Bhakti Yoga and pure Bhakti, that is a difference also.
Yeah,
of
course. I'm talking about Bhakti Yoga where it is, of course, pure. We are not talking about people like me. We're talking about pure Bhakti Yoga.
Pure Bhakti Yoga, yes. Ben, anything more?
No, I can't think of anything.
No, because your hand is up. I thought you wanted to say something more. Okay, yes. And Buddhi Yoga is also used as the same as Krishna consciousness, Buddhi Yoga, intelligence. So much could be said about, but Rashmi said was really nice. You put a lot of stress, and rightly so, on performing our duty. And we should perform our duty. At that stage we should perform our duty. And if we can perform our duty, whatever duty, as a housewife, you mentioned that, or any as a husband, or in our work environment, performing our duty regularly, not whimsically, that was nice, Rashmi, regularly, our duty, then that will help us to come to the mode of goodness eventually. And from the mode of goodness, it will be very easy to cultivate pure bhakti. And that duty, regularly, not whimsically, that of course we have our spiritual duties also, as Samir mentioned before, like the principles and the chanting, our rounds. So these spiritual duties also shouldn't be done whimsically. Today I feel like chanting, tomorrow I don't. So we have to do our material duties and our spiritual duties without being whimsical, but really strongly minded and just do what needs to be done. And there was some time ago, I sent out from Bhaktivinoda Thakur quite a few points. If you chant with offenses, just keep chanting. If you chant late at night, chant anyway. If your mind says this and this, chant anyway, chant anyway, chant anyway. So it's not, sometimes people think, if I cannot chant pure, what is the point of chanting? That's another trick of Maya. If I cannot chant purely and fully concentrated, fully offenselessly, and then what's the point? No, we will not be able to chant without offenses. There's a different stages of chanting, of nama bas, of nama apparat, offensive stage, the clearing stage, and so on. So we have to go through these stages and work on our chanting, that it becomes more and more pure until it is Shuddhanam, the pure holy name. That is an advanced stage, and we have to come to that. But the main point, as you, Rashmi, pointed out, not whimsically. Our material duties, not whimsically, we just have to do it. And our spiritual duties, we just have to do it. If we could achieve to do our spiritual duties as sincerely and not whimsically as we do our material duties, because our material duties we do generally. We do. The wife is cooking, the husband is doing this, the person goes, you're not going whimsically to your job tomorrow. I don't feel like I don't go to my job, I don't go to work. We can do that. We are very, very good at doing our material duties. Our spiritual duties have to become just like that. Ben.
No, I was just saying you were going through the different phases of chanting. And you said that even if you get to Nama Bas, that's enough to liberate you, isn't it?
That's a very glorious stage. The shadow of the pure holy name, so to speak. Okay, I think we have talked quite a lot on this verse, and there were quite a really nice points. Samir, thank you, and Rashmi, your contribution, what you learned in your class about karma yoga. So now you have understood karma yoga. That's very wonderful to hear, and you have explained it nicely. And Ben, your contribution. So great. Let's move on. Let's move on to text 16. Volunteers for text 16. Who wants to take on text 16? Is that your hand up, Ben? Your mic is on? Yes. Okay, go ahead. The microphone is yours.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 16. Vichakshano asyarhati veditum vibhor ananta parashya nivritita sukham pravartamanasya guner anatmanas tato bhavan darsyaya sestitam vibho. Translation. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality retired from the activities of material happiness deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of God. It is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only the very expert who have almost retired from materialistic activities by the culture of spiritual knowledge can be admitted to the study of this great science. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many hundreds and thousands of men, only one person deserves to enter into transcendental realization. And out of many thousands of such transcendentally realized persons, only a few can understand the theological science, specifically dealing with God as a person. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself personality, expert in this science, and he is unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it. And Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is the right person to receive it. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual literary incarnation of the Lord, so the layman can hear the narration of the activities of the Lord. Thereby, they are able to associate with the Lord and thus gradually becomes purified from material diseases. The expert devotees also can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Devotional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. Such transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic men. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibited expert dexterity in this connection by following the same method. One can bring the materialistic men of this age of quarrel into order for peaceful life and transcendental realization.
Thank you, and Hare Krishna. Can you say a few words? Summarize?
Yeah, I try. So if I backtrack a little bit to previous verses, there's the theme is kind of running through these verses. And what it's doing is it's highlighting the prominence and the eminence of devotional service over just the religious ritualistic activity as outlined in the Vedas. So in this verse, the type of personality is being explained that the Lord is saying that, well, someone who is retired from materialistic activities and who understands the value of spiritual knowledge, who is free from attachment to materialism, is in a good situation to be a candidate, if you like, for spiritual and transcendental realization.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, throughout the purport is again explaining who is a fit candidate to receive this by describing the activities and the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Vasudev, he passed this on to his son Sukadev, who was the right person to receive it, and Sukadev, he then passed it on to Parikit Maharaj and the sages at Navasaranya. Sutadev Goswami, he was another person who was considered a fit person to pass on this knowledge. But basically, he's saying that this purified devotees, their kind of mission, if you like, is to awaken the dull-brained, materialistic type of men who are just engrossed in the five senses, totally absorbed in materialistic life. They got no concept of what spirituality is, so they're wasting their valuable lifetime, and their future is bleak in terms of, they're going to go back into the cycle of evolution. So the devotees of the Lord, having compassion on all these fallen souls, they want to disseminate this knowledge whereby everyone can become free from the clutches of the illusory energy and become reassociated and reunited in their proper position with Krishna, in their relationship with Krishna, and thus go back home, back to Godhead, where they belong, where they can be truly happy, because the happiness that people experience in this material world is very flickering and is all temporary. Everything that we have, it's all temporary. Even you might be a rich man this life, but next life you could be a beggar on the street. There is nothing guaranteed in this life, and we only have a short duration of life, and then everything is finished. All relationships, all family life, everything we value in this life is gone, because it's over in the blink of an eye. But if the conditioned soul can make some headway, some progress in the spiritual realization of who they are and what this life is really meant for, then they can, like I said, they can get free from this suffering. This is a suffering state, I say, because we have to tolerate these bodies. We have to tolerate the onslaught of old age, and the body is suffering more, and the mind, and we have to, eventually we have to leave this body as well. We have to die. This body will die, and we are all, everyone is in the same boat. And this is actually a very suffering condition. It's an evil condition, to take birth, to experience old age and disease, and then to die is actually a suffering condition, because we as spirit souls, we are eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, and we don't experience these conditions. We're eternal. We don't get diseased, we don't get old, and we don't die.
Jai Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. That was a whole Bhagavad Gita class you gave.
I'm sorry,
Krishna consciousness.
Sorry if I got carried away. You should have interrupted me sooner.
Well, I don't want to offend you. Hare Krishna. No, that was beautiful. Thank you. But I have a question. Here Srila Prabhupada writes, it is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. What is Krishna saying in Bhagavad Gita? There is a verse directly related to that. Anyone? Rashmi, you studying Bhagavad Gita. The keywords are too much attached to material activities.
I may be wrong, but I can try. Is it chapter 2?
Yes.
I will only know because that is the chapter we are studying now. Chapter 2, text 41.
44.
41.
What is 41? Read 41.
I don't have it in my hands, but it said that those who are resolute in their aim.
Okay, so you're resolute.
If their intelligence is, a word is used for that intelligent, vihasmitya something, which means it is very firm. It is one-pointed intelligence where the goal is one, that is Krishna. But there are the people who have got multi aims, little bit of prestige, little bit of wealth, little bit of honor. Then they are not whatever.
Okay, here is the translation. Those, first of all, it is, yes, buddhi is mentioned. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So that is 41, but that is not, to some extent, but there is a verse, too much attached to material activities. That is 44. Ben, you got that verse?
Too much attached to material activities. What verse?
That's what Srila Prabhupada writes. That's here in our purport.
Which number is it?
244.
244.
With their minds deeply attached to worldly pleasures, and their intellects bewildered by such things. Story. Hello?
Yes, carry on. Say the full again. Can you say the full translation?
With their minds deeply attached to worldly pleasures, and their intellects bewildered by such things, they are unable to possess the resolute determination for success on the path to God.
I've got a different translation from that one.
I got a different translation too. Very much different translation.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
That is the translation I got as well.
Yes.
Oh my God, we hit on another edited version here. But the point is, too much attached to material activities, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So that is 244. That relates. 241 was also nice. Very important verse, 241. What about the next?
But what you can say about that is what because Prabhupada in the beginning of that purport, he's like saying that people who are who become interested in spiritual subject matter and transcendental realization, they are rare. He says out of hundreds and thousands of men.
What Bhagavad Gita verse is that? Srila Prabhupada said, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated. So which verse? Famous verse. Out of many hundreds and thousands of men.
Is it in the 7th chapter?
It is.
7:14.
No. Anyone? Let's give anyone else a chance. Rashmi. What's that verse? From the Hindi. Out of thousands of men. Mankind. What's a word? Sanskrit word for men.
I don't
Manushyanam.
Janamanante.
Manushyanam Sahasreshu. 7.3. Anyone has Bhagavad Gita? 7.3?
Yes.
Read translation.
7.3. All right, give me a second. Let's find it. 7.3.
You can even read Sanskrit. No, you don't have to read it. Manushyanam Sahasreshu. Very famous verse. Translate.
Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kasit Yatati Siddhaye Yatatnam Api Siddhanam Kashin Mam Veti Tatvata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
Certainly we have spoken about that verse. Many times we came across that verse. Whenever out of many thousands of men, that's the verse, Manushyanam Sahasreshu. Well, good to remember that Bhagavad Gita verse.
Would you say that, would you say in this there's a slight contradiction?
No. What's a contradiction, you think?
Well, it's almost like the pure devotees, they ignored that.
Ignored what?
They ignore the fact that, there may be one person from many hundreds and thousands, millions, yeah? But they're not really concerned with that.
No, they're very much concerned. They're making they're trying to get the people in general to become one of those amongst thousands of men. That is the mission of every devotee in Krishna consciousness, to bring others to Krishna consciousness. Increase the one out of many thousands of men. Let's increase the one out of many thousands of men to 100 out of thousands of men to 1,000 out of thousands of men. And Krishna will be very pleased.
Okay, so what if I then say to you, what about Lord Chaitanya, who's come in this age? And he's not discriminating against anyone. He's giving everyone the opportunity to chant the holy name.
Of course. But the opportunity is there. But if people are taking to the opportunity, or rather the people are satisfied with religious, materialistic, motivated activities,
that's another point altogether.
The opportunity we give her. We cannot do anything more than give the opportunity. Lord Chaitanya and the pure devotees, they give the opportunity all over the world. But how many will pick it up?
But that's all anyone can do. You can only transmit the message to the degree that you understand the message. You know what I mean, in a sense. And then, it's like the result is not in your hands. It's like everything is dependent upon Krishna. And that whatever individual you might try to share Krishna consciousness with, then it's up to them as well, whether they choose or they have the ability to accept what you say and they like what you say and it resonates with them, and they have that sincerity in their heart.
Yes, thank you, Ben. Samir, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, of course, there's a big difference between us and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But as time went on, Ben kind of said that anyway. So I put my hand up before he finished. But yeah, of course, when Lord Chaitanya is spreading the movement, even the animals were dancing along. So, but we have to keep endeavoring to teach everyone what we've learnt. Thank you.
Yes, we are following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, and we have taken on the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His mission. We try to assist him in his mission. That's all. Okay, anyone, anything else before we move on to the next shloka? Okay, who wants to take the next verse? Volunteers. Someone who hasn't. Next shloka. Volunteers.
Yeah, I will read it, Prabhu.
Thank you. You're always volunteering, and that is very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Go ahead. That's text 17.
Okay.
Do you mind if I correct you a little bit on the Sanskrit?
No, I don't mind.
You sure?
It's up to you, Prabhu. I don't mind.
Yes, I don't want to. Yes, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavata Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavata Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavata Vasudevaya. Tyatya Svagramam Cha Namam Charanambucham Hare Bhajan Appo Tya Patet Teto Yadi Yatra Kya Vahandram Abun Anushya Krim Kovata Apto Vajadatam Sva Larata Dharmata. Translation. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Okay, purport. As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty-bound, not only to his parent, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc., but also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, and in the long run, due to many reasons, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in history. Bharata Maharaja was obliged to take his birth as a stag due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of his stag when he died. As such, in the next birth, he becomes a stag, although he did not forget the incident of his previous birth. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to the offences at the feet of Shiva. But in spite of all this, the stress is given here to surrendering onto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there's a chance of falling down. Because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of the devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from a dangerous position. There are many instances of such examples in history. Ajamila is one of them. Ajamila, in his early life was a devotee, but in youth he fell down. Still, he was saved by the Lord at the end. Hello?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can you summarize a bit?
Yeah. Okay. Let me just. I think he's saying that a devotee can, maybe due to inexperience or immaturity, he describes it, or moment of weakness, actually not forget his devotional service, and as this says, fall down, so then goes against his devotional services, and also when he has his own interpretation of his devotional services, they are not really following it fully, so he's fallen down, but they will not be let, Krishna will still protect them, and but they have to be, careful, because I think he gives an example of Bharata Maharaja who was a devotee, but then thought of a stag when he was, I think, in the last moment of his life, so he came back as a stag. But having a devotional service, it can save you from dangerous positions. Prabhu, is there something wrong with the mic? There's like an echo on the line now. I don't know if people can hear it.
Yes, we can hear it, yeah. There's some echo.
Okay, you can hear, okay. Was there an echo, yeah?
It's better now.
I think we've lost Prabhu, I think it's his microphone causing the problem, I think.
Oh.
Because you can't hear it now.
Echo is gone, Amit.
No, the echo is gone, but I think it was Prabhu's mic that was causing the echo.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, he's back. Okay, everything's okay now, yeah? Everybody can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's what that's what I think it's saying, that devotees can't fall down through immaturity, it says, but I think they may lose their way along the way and have their own interpretation of devotional services.
In comparison to what? That's a very good point, actually. Their own interpretation. We spoke earlier, mental speculation. That is, I have my own interpretation of devotional service. So what, instead of own interpretation, what shall we follow?
You have to follow your guru.
Yes, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. The proper, not interpretation, the Bhagavad Gita as it is, not our interpretation, as Krishna spoke it, or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Same thing. What does it mean, Amit, fall down? Can you give some example? Yes, you already gave. If someone makes their own interpretation of devotional service and not what has been given by authority, by the spiritual master, and by scripture.
Okay, fall down means you go against maybe another example is the pillars of the pillars of Krishna consciousness. So Ajamal, didn't he? I remember, I think he.
Yes, you remember very well.
Devotee, but then he went against it, didn't he? Didn't he go with, was it another women or prostitutes? Or
yes. So that was a fall down from his Brahminical, but Ajamil was not a devotee really. He was a Brahmin.
No, Brahmin.
Yes, but he fell down from that Brahminical platform. And then he, of course, we know the story, he got saved by chanting the name Narayan, his son. Then he remembered Narayan, which he worshipped on a proper Brahminical platform. So he got saved. That is a fall down, yes, a good example. Question for anybody on this fall down. What happens to someone who falls down from the devotional platform, from the, or as Amit says, from the, instead of one's own interpretation of devotional service, but takes to the authorized process of devotional service? If someone deviates from that, if one falls down, what happened to him? Rashmi.
Prabhuji, there is a reference to verse 2.40 of Bhagavad Gita that says that if you fall down, even then there is no loss or diminution, there is no danger. You will start from wherever you left. So if you have stopped the practice or you have fallen down, then wherever you stopped, you will restart it, maybe in the same lifetime or maybe in the next. So that is not lost.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you very much. You have that verse in front of you?
I don't have the verse, but I know 2.40. It is 2.40.
That's
so
a verse,
it
yes.
says that if you have done the bhakti improperly or it is incomplete, there is no loss or diminution in the endeavor. There is no danger. You will not lose it.
The translation goes as that. Very important verse. One of the key verses, Nehapi, Krama, Nashasti, Pratyavayana, Vidya, and so on. Is that what you wanted to say, Ben? I think so. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So there is no loss, yes. But my question was rather, what happens to someone if someone falls down? What happens to him in the next life? We have spoken about that many times. Anyone? Let's say someone practices devotional service and then he deviates, as Amit so nicely said, he follows his own interpretation of devotional service, and then death comes. What is his next birth? Ben?
There's two verses in connection with this. We had a conversation about this a while ago.
Yes.
He's like the unsuccessful yogi. After a short period of practice in devotional service, who falls from the path. His destination is that he takes birth in the heavenly planets, where he gets the opportunity to fulfill and satisfy all his material desires. Then he comes back to the earth, and he gets a good birth. And then
what is a good birth? What kind of birth he gets?
Well, he gets a birth. He either gets a birth as a in a Brahminical family or a family of learned transcendentalists.
Not Brahminical families, rich aristocracy.
Oh yeah, rich aristocracy. He gets an advantageous birth in terms of
yes,
material advantage. So
that is after a short time of practice. What about the one after a long time of practice and then he falls down?
Then the one after a long time of practice, he again is the unsuccessful yogi after a long time of practice. They actually get their next birth is in a family of learned transcendentalists, i.e. devotees. So they take birth in a family of devotees.
Yes, thank you. That is, of course, a very advantageous birth. And surely, with such a birth, he will complete his devotional service and perfect his life. So, there is no loss. And, Rashmi already mentioned that verse. At the end of this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position, and that's directly related to that verse. Vaishnava, did you have to leave? Oh no! I was hoping you would read a verse to us, but if you have to leave, then you have to leave. So, Hare Krishna. Vaishnava, she's gone. So that relates, of course, to the verse Rashmi has brought up. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Okay, Hare Krishna.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So, Ben explained these two type of yogis.
Yes.
One will go to heavenly planets, then come down in aristocratic family, and the other one in transcendentalist family. So why did Bharat Maharaj then have to take birth as a baby deer? And yes, baby deer, he took birth and then he came into contact with the sadhus and he became Uttam Bhakta. But why did he then have to take birth as a baby deer? He was also, I don't know much about Bharat Maharaj, but he was also some higher up, like pure type of devotee, na?
He just got accidentally, you could say. He got. Samir, you want to answer that?
It says in the Gita that whatever you think of at the time of death, so whenever you're thinking about, surely you will go to that. So because Bharat Maharaj was thinking of that deer, he became a deer but fortunately for him, he still remembered his previous life. So he, in the body of a deer, was listening to devotees and was still associating with devotees and hearing katha and everything. So it's a very unusual case. But if you do, for example, if you do leave your body thinking of something and you haven't completely finished, then it's very, very risky. And we don't know, what could happen to us. And we shouldn't take the chance. So we should try our best to go back home to the spiritual world in this lifetime, because we don't know what's going to happen. Of course, there is always that guarantee that we'll take it up. But Bharat Maharaj is an example given to us for our sake as well, because we really should focus. We should, sometimes when you're doing something and you might be looking at something and you think, oh my goodness, what if I leave my body right now? And I'm just looking at that. So we have to be conscious all the time of what we're doing. And if we can keep chanting and reading and doing things in Krishna conscious, then the stronger we become. But it's just a reminder for us, all of us, that whatever we're doing, even, for example, of course, social media is very strong nowadays, and everything is so at our fingertips. And if we come across something and we might look at it and we think, oh, and, I've been thinking as well lately that, goodness, if I leave my body right now and I'm looking at that, I'll be a waste of time. So, let's not try and waste any time, even 1 second, if we can help it.
Thank you, Shamir. Yes.
That's not my question. My question is that I understood what Samir Prabhu is trying to explain, but my question is that yes, he thought of the deer at the time of death, so that was his fall down, right? And so he thought of that deer when he was attached to the deer. That was his fall down. So according to what Bren was explaining, he has incompletely finished his whatever. So he finished his bhakti. He was incomplete. He was the incomplete yogi. So he should not have. Why did he then take birth as a deer? I'm not trying to argue about what Samir is saying, that we've always learned that from the Gita, that we take a body depending on who we think of what we think of at the time of death.
What's that verse?
Huh?
What's that verse in the Gita?
I can't remember, Prabhuji.
Anyone? Someone find out that verse. What we think at the time of death. That will be our next destination. Okay, Rashmi, carry on. I understand what you're trying to say. It could be said this slight deviation, this slight attachment, is that really a fall down on the same level as Ajamil, who really fell down to the level of sinful life. No, we couldn't really say Bharat Maharaj fell down to the level of sinful life. That was much more slighter. He just got by a little bit inattentiveness, or he had compassion for the deer, and he got a bit attached to the deer. So your question is, why did he take the body of a deer? It appears like that was a worse consequence than the unsuccessful yogi who goes to the heavenly planets to enjoy and be born in an aristocratic family. It seems to be worse, but it's not worse at all. It's better. It's better. He took the body of a deer, and he was fully conscious about his previous birth. And he associated with the sages in the forest in the body of a deer. And after that birth, he became a pure devotee. So that is not inferior, really. But again, the ways of karma, of reaction, are very difficult to understand. As Samir earlier on pointed out, we shouldn't take any chances, because it is we're taking our chances. There is not a kind of a clear cut. It has to be like this. It has to be like this. We can, if we don't, if we are not successful in our spiritual pursuit, then what is a guarantee? What birth we will receive in our next lifetime? So that is a very risky business. So the only way to avoid that risky business is if we make a success out of this lifetime. Okay, I think here we stop.
Namo Vishnu-padaya Krishna-prasthaya Putale Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namo Vishnu-padaya Krishna-prasthaya Putale Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vivishesha Shunyavadi Paschathyadi Chattadine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vivishesha Shunyavadi Paschathyadi Chattadine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gattatha Shivasani Gaura Bhaktarinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gattatha Shivasani Gaura Bhaktarinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gattatha Shivasani Gaura Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasani Gaura Bhaktarinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gattatha Shivasani Gaura Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktari Hinda Jaya Gaura Bhaktari Hinda Jaya Gaura Bhaktari Hinda Jaya Gaura Bhaktari Hinda Jaya Gaura Bhaktari Hinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radhe. Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha. Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha. Jaya Radha Landanishwara Radha Landanishwara Radha Landanishwara Radha. Radha Landanishwara Radha Landanishwara Radha Landanishwara Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Shri Radhe. Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe. Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Jaya Shri Radhe. Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe. Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radha Shyam Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Shri Radhe. Radhe, Jaya Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Shri Radhe. Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jai Giri Govardhan, Jai Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jai Giri Govardhan. Jai Nitai Sachi Sundar, Nitai Sachi Sundar, Nitai Sachi Sundar, Jai Nitai Sachi Sundar. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prema Se Goho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaura Bhaktarinda Ki Jai. Let us offer our most respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees, and they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they're full of compassion to the fallen and conditioned souls. Hare Krishna.